First of all, the House here and the people of Ireland owe a thank you to Catherine Murphy for persistently bringing this matter to the attention of the people of Ireland and to the Dáil, that we must have openness and we must have light on the biggest banking collapse in the civilised world to date. We have, as an outcome of that, Anglo-Irish Bank, now IBRC, and NAMA, with combined written down value of assets in the order of about 60 to 65 billion. And the people of Ireland, about 1 million people today, hurt and will continue to hurt for the rest of their lives as a result of the unjustified and incorrect distribution of the losses that occurred from a credit pyramid Ponzi scheme that was the creation only, and I want this to be understood, of the banks, the boards of banks during the period 2001 to 2008. It is provable from the balance sheets, and it has been ignored by the present administration, and I'm deeply depressed that, having been elected to this honourable House, that any contributions I've made have been completely ignored and set aside, and there's an unwillingness to have clarity, truthfulness, and correct analysis discussed. I want to touch on a few matters. Anglo-Irish Bank, now IBRC, in February 2013, we came into this House at the ungodly hour. It was a 2-day event because it went from before midnight to after midnight to do a special liquidation of the bank, and also to set unjustified losses of investors in the bank onto the Irish people. And it has been blurred, and it has been wrongly taken on board by the establishment of this country, which hides behind things like currently a growth rate for 4% for the next year, and all this sort of nonsense. I have coming into my office people who've had family members commit suicide, widows, and people who are sick, being literally bullied and beaten up by the so-called pillar banks to date, who are still operationally paralysed because they haven't got capabilities to deal with the loan ledgers that they have left. Anglo-Irish Bank had losses, admitted losses of 28 billion, and an Irish Nationwide Building Society 6 billion, total 34 billion. A series of promissory notes were created out of that are now promissory bonds, standing at 26 billion. And while you're here, Minister, they should be cancelled unilaterally, and Mr Draghi told about it. And I'll be travelling to Brussels on the 1st of July to support the Ballyhay Group with that intention in mind. The Taoiseach yesterday said, you know, we've improved with so many thousands of jobs being created after the loss of jobs. This political point scoring following the collapse, as if it was all down to property. It wasn't. The scale of credit that was allowed to flow into this country across the board brought the size of the banking, the domestic banking, from 3 times national income to over 5.5 times national income. I want to talk about how the profits, the so-called profits of IBRC, were inflated for a period starting in 1993 and travelling through right to date. There were 2 ways in which it happened. First of all, there was the direct manipulation and hiding, like a dark pool, of loaded interest charges in a large number of, in the majority of cases actually, because a very extensive exercise was carried out by Bank Check that revealed this. And the figures involved, I mean, it was an excellent exercise. The key facts: 113 variable rate DIBOR and Euribor loans, 17 LIBOR-based transactions, 494 separate DIBOR-Euribor rates were reconciled, found to be loaded, and the degree of loading ranged from 0.5% in the early 90s to between 0.3 and 0.03 and 0.05 in 2002 and 2003. 80% of all the loans examined over many clients were found to have this loading. And the statements that clients received never showed the composition, the breakup of what the base rate was, the DIBOR 3-month rate, plus a margin which had been agreed by loan agreements, plus RAC, if and when it applied, reserve asset cost. The amount, the quantum of the loaded overcharging was in the order of 0.3%. Now, if the margin was 1.5, the margin comprises two elements: the amount that goes to cover overheads, usually about 0.9 of the 1.5, with 0.6 being the profit of the bank. If you had a loaded secret dark pool profit of 0.3, then that represented 1/3 of the overall profits, including that dark pool profit. Which means that the market valuation of Anglo-Irish Bank, while this was going on for 14 years, up to 2002, was overstated by 1/3. It would be like if it was discovered by a proper auditing that the market would react with a collapse, like a Valentine's Day massacre, of at least 1/3 the value of the bank, which would affect the shareholders, which would affect the creditors, which would affect depositors. That's quite irrespective of whether there was an international credit bust and freeze of credit. And this has been brought to the attention of NTMA, NAMA, and so on. And it has been ignored to date. I have the evidence here. It is shocking. There's a superbly authoritative letter following the second element of the overcharge by Anglo-Irish Bank, now IBRC. And it is where the 365 days interest charging was applied across the board when it should have been 360 days. And in the case of John Morrissey versus IBRC versus John Morrissey, this was a decision by Judge Mary Finlay-Gagan. And it has been brought to the attention of the bank, and the bank has been asked to explain what has been done about this across other loan clients. And it has been ignored. The terms of reference that the government have put an outline for this investigation from 2009 to 2013 is absurd. I'm ashamed that it was put in that terms. It means it excludes the conduct, the professional conduct of the special liquidators. And I have other examples where clients of what was Anglo, now IBRC, are being mauled, and where there has been special preferential treatment been given to certain bidders on loans. I'm going to cite the BlackRock Clinic, where a very high-profile businessman, it's now the subject of open court proceedings, where it appears on the evidence, and I have the court depositions, and I've gone through them, that Larry Goodman and his senior accounting advisors, former KPMG partners, very close to KPMG, the special liquidator, Mr. Richardson and Mr. Wallace, where there has been a preferential treatment in bidding for some of the loans of the investors in the BlackRock Clinic. And this, again, should be investigated. It should be investigated. There's too much darkness in the examination, too much selected narrow stuff. The case of the chief loans manager of NAMA, John Mulcahy, the day after the 6-month stay of involvement in any property transactions relating to NAMA loan assets, the day afterwards, he joined the advisory team of Dennis O'Brien. KPMG were the auditors of Irish Nationwide Building Society, which had a balance sheet of 14 billion, and they made 6 billion of losses which have been put on the backs of the Irish people. Wrong. They were the auditors. KPMG. It's unbelievable stuff. In May of last year, this House, the opposition, all the opposition members put forward a motion that people with experience and qualifications, in fact myself, offering to go on the banking inquiry, and the government, under whip, told their deputies to vote it down. I want to read something that is extremely important following the judgment of the yes, Chair.
Sorry, your time is finished.
Can I conclude on one short little sentence, please?
Sure.
Yeah. It appears, this is from Black solicitors following the John Morrissey case. It appears numerous illegalities have been carried out by Anglo-Irish Bank and its successors over 25 years to date, and continuing. You, Mr. Wallace, this is to Kieran Wallace, have acknowledged under oath in US court proceedings the overcharging of interest by the bank. As the overcharging has continued under your watch, you are jointly and severally liable for same, together with the Minister and Department of Finance, the Central Bank of Ireland and the Financial Regulator. This is really serious stuff. No response has been received to letters that issued to NAMA, 7th of January 2015, to the Central Bank, 22nd of January 2015, to the Minister for Finance, 3rd of March 2015, and to the Central Bank, 9th of March 2015. We're now in June. This is serious stuff. There are loans that are being operationally processed by the originators of those loans. Now those loans are owned by third parties, including hedge funds, and they are calculating interest on an unlawful basis, even though it has been brought to their attention. This is shocking. And we're being told to stay quiet, and that you'll only look at stuff between 2009 and 2013. This should be open season where there are valid evidence complaints.
Please, if you don't mind. Now, listen, I've been more than lenient with you, and I would ask you now to conclude.
You've been very generous.
You said you had a short,
those benches, those empty.
You said you had a short statement to read, and I allowed you that 30 seconds to now you're going into another speech. So if you don't mind...
There's other evidence where NAMA knowingly allowed the information memorandum for the Chicago Spire to be misleading, negligently misleading, which has cost both the Irish people and the developer huge losses, unnecessarily. I have the evidence for that.
Deputy Mathews.
I have evidence for too many things that are being put into the dark room, the dark pool of the establishment.
Can I call for the caller, please?
Thank you, Chair.
There's no point in me sitting here if you